The chip war is back on. Chinese scientists at a phone company defeated the almighty United States global sanction machine this week. As recently as 2020, China's Huawei was the largest smartphone seller in the world, but its entire operation was wrecked by the United States using an obscure and blatantly unfair law. Now, just 3 years later, Huawei is back, and its new phone, launched quietly last week, is the most talked about device in the world, and for very good reasons. Huawei, a private tech company based in Shenzhen, near Hong Kong, climbed laboriously up the ladder right to the top. By 2019, it was the world's biggest producer of general telecoms equipment. By 2020, it was the global king of smartphones, having overtaken both the long-standing leaders, Apple and Samsung. As well as being number one in terms of unit sales, Huawei phones were getting top-rated reviews, and their built-in cameras were rated best in the world. Now, the US in 2019 put Huawei onto its famous entity list. If your company name appears on that list, you immediately find it difficult to do business with anyone, since people around the world are scared of trading with anyone on the US's main blacklist. In May of 2022, the US government targeted Huawei again using an obscure provision of export control law called the Foreign Direct Product Rule. Now, this United States law gave the United States global power over any product anywhere in the world which could be described as having had American technology or US developed software involved in its production at some stage. Let me just explain how outrageous this law is. Imagine a family in Asia making a product using only raw materials from their neighborhood. They then sell it to another family in their part of the world. No part of the product is from the United States, and the product was designed, made and sold in Asia. All the US has to do is declare that American software or hardware was used at some point in the process, and it gives itself the power to claim the products are US goods. Now, that was the law used against Huawei. Of course, some of the inside parts of their phones could be said to have involved US technology or software. So, from being world king of smartphones, Huawei fell to having just 2% of the market by 2022. But was it dead and gone? You'd think, but no. Now here's where the story has its surprise twist. Last week, Huawei started selling its latest phone, the Mate 60 Pro. It wasn't a particularly big launch, but the phone was clearly special. First, it was said to have the ability to make satellite calls. You'd literally never be without a signal. Second, it showed data speeds of more than 350 megabytes per second. And videos posted on Weibo showed it approaching 1 gigabyte per second. But it was the third thing that amazed most people. When it was opened up, it appeared to use advanced 7-nanometer chip technology. This indicated that Chinese scientists were making good headway in developing their own high-end chip-making facilities. Now, this news was so surprising that the UK press immediately accused China of using Western technology. Chips in Huawei's latest device appear to have been made using secret European tech. That's what the always rabid UK Daily Telegraph reported. Now, that paper says that a research company called Tech Insights analysed the Mate 60's main processor chip and said it was made using extreme ultraviolet lithography. Now, that's a secret technique known only by Dutch company ASML, the paper said. Now, ASML used to work very happily with the Chinese providing gear, but was pressured by the US to cut off contact. But it appears that China now may have worked out that system for itself. The new Huawei phone's main processor was made by China's Semiconductor Manufacturing International Corporation, better known as SMIC. Now, this company was also put on the US entity list in 2020. What was its crime? It might make products that might be used for military purposes. Yeah, you might think that sounds absurdly unfair, but consider this. The US justified the move with its usual clearly fake story that China was going to use its army to take over the world. Had to be stopped. But America's own experts said that 99.99% of usage of such chips in China was civilian with no connection to the PLA. The actual effort of the US actions were to embargo China's development, said John Bateman, a US technology expert, in a talk at the MIT Security Studies program. So that's the story. In 2020, the US slapped Huawei off the top of the smartphone ladder. And today, in 2023, it showed that it was not dead and it was climbing back up. But of course, this story is not really about smartphones at all. The US has been working really hard to damage China's technology scene so that it can retain world leadership. But all they did was to make hard-working Chinese scientists work even harder. Still, there's no place for complacency here in Asia. Analysts have told me that China has a long way to go still before it can replace Western high-end chip equipment. So in that sense, the US is still winning for now. But the same analysts also say Washington is paying a high price, exposing itself as a player willing to attack international free market capitalism to get itself an unfair advantage. Now they're finding out that that advantage may not last as long as they thought it would. Peace.